the one, the only, Ben Sion.
Good afternoon and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, Just Daf It. Today we're doing Maseches Gittin Daf Gimel, number 23. A great share for you today. We'll be talking about the writing of a get. Certain people are not allowed to write a get, and certain people are not allowed to bring a get, be a shliach to bring the get from the hand of the husband to the wife, or from the hand of, or to receive the get, act as a shliach to receive the get on behalf of the wife. Let's see the Mishnah on Chav Beis Amid Beis. The Mishnah, about 5 lines from the bottom. Al kol ksher and lichtov es haget. Everyone is kosher to write the get. Afilu cheresh shot of a katan. Even if you're a cheresh shot of a katan, you're considered someone who's deaf, or a shota is someone who has mental disabilities. He's crazy, psychiatric. The katan and a child who's underage. Even though really the man is supposed to write it, but we mentioned before they wanted men to divorce their wives, and they gave the woman the responsibility to write the get, and then she transfers it to the husband who gives it to her. The man writes his receipt, and when he pays the ksuva, he gives it to the woman who's going to give to him. When he pays his ksuba, he'll have a receipt that he paid. Even if the woman writes the get, the main part of the get is when it's signed, and then when it's going to be signed, it's already in the hands of the husband. The Gemara says, how could a chereshot and katan be kosher to write a get? They don't know. One of the factors of writing a get has to be done lishma, la, because of law. Lishma for the woman, you have to have intent to write it for them. Katan doesn't understand these things. Amar of Huna says, top of Gimel and Aleph, we're talking about a case where there was a person who was a gadol, was over the age of 13, a mature person. He was standing on top of the katan, and he was telling him, write it lishma for this woman. Amar of Nachman el ma'ata, oved kochavim Yisrael omer al gabav hachinami the kasha. Let's say you have the exact same case with a non-Jew. Hold on a second, it's really hot in here. Try to keep the windows closed because people start shouting things on the street over here. Crazy people. Especially in the afternoon, they have these boys, 13, 14-year-old boys come to learn Mishnayos. They didn't learn enough apparently during the day. And instead of learning, which they're supposed to be doing, they go and they make fires in the back. They hit each other with sticks. And they start yelling at each other. So the parents can think that their masmidim sons or 13, 14-year-old kids are really learning. Let them play sports. Let them play some basketball or soccer. Come on. So the Gemara says, a non-Jew, if he's supervised by a Jew, he'll tell the non-Jew, right? Lishma. Why should it be puzzled? It's kosher. Atani, the Brayso, Ovid Chavim puzzle. Ovid Chavim can't write a get. Ovid Chavim, the Gemara is Ovid Chavim indicted the nafshe. Even if you tell the non-Jew, right? Lishma, he's someone who doesn't care about Allah. I'll say, I don't care. I'm writing it for whatever reason I'm writing it. Hadar Amar Rav Nachman, Lav Milsahi Amri. Rav Nachman retracted what he said. Right? The fact that the next Mishnah we'll see later on in this daf says a non-Jew can't bring a get, can't act as a shliach to bring a get. It implies that he's able to write it. That time, but what the Brayso would call impossible. Here, Rabbi Lazar, that Brayso reflects the opinion of Lazar. The Amar Ede Mesira Karsi. Right? It says in the pasuk Vikasa Vinasa. So what is the word Vikasa telling? According to Rabbi Lazar, the main part is the Nesina. You have to Ede Mesira Karsi, but the mitzvah of Kasav Lishma is talking about the writing of the get. So therefore, the Ksiva Lishma, non-Jew, he'll do it l'daiti the nafshe. He's not going to do it for the woman. He'll do it for whatever his own reasons. Now he won't do it lishma. Amar Rav Nachman, Omar Yarei Meir. Nachman says Reb Meir would say, "Afilu matzo ba'ashba." Even if he found a get in the garbage dump, chasmu v'nasu la kasher. It was definitely written for a different lady, but it happens to be your wife has the same name and you have the same name as a husband on the get. the main part of according to Reb Meir, the word v'kasav doesn't mean right. It means sign. It means sign. That's what all you need is the chasim lishma. So they did a chasim lishma for this woman. It's kosher. Eisirei Rav Nachman. Rav asked the following question of Nachman: the kasav law lishma. You should write it her first shema. My love ksivas haget. Doesn't that mean ksivas haget? The brayso kasav law, right? Which would indicate not like Reb Meir. Lo chasima. It means ksiva. It really means signing. Chasima is Adam, signing of the witnesses. Eitzivei Rava. Rava asked another question of Nachman. Kol get shenichtav shel shemisha apostle. It's not written for the sake of a woman, or at least the woman that you're divorcing. It's apostle. So it says ksiva. The word says ema shenechtam shel shemisha. We'll say it really means sign, apostle, and it's apostle. Eitzivei. Another question. Shu kosvo kilo kosvo lishma. When he writes it, he's writing something. He's writing something else lishma. What is the brayso? It's an ambiguous brayso. What does it mean? My love, kshu kosvo l'torei lishma. When he writes the main line in the get, right? The main line in the get is what you write Harei Mutar L'Chol Adam, and it also says his name, her name, the name of the city where it was written, and the zman and the time. That's the Torah. The tofes is the remainder of the get, which just explains all the other rules. It's not the main part of the get. It's the secondary part of the get, which details all the ramifications of a get. So doesn't mean as long as you write the Torah, the main part, lishma, it's like the Tofas were in lishma. Although the Gemara rejected. No, according to Reb when you sign a lishma, kilo kosma lishma. The ksiva doesn't matter according to Reb Meir. Only that matters is a signature doing lishma. Levi is saying another way of answering for our Mishnah. Hani masnisin. The questions on Rav Nachman. These braysos, Mani Reb Lezer, that said the ksiva has to be lishma. That wasn't for reflecting Reb Meir's opinion. That was Reb Lezer's opinion. All right, in Masira Karsi, he says the kasav goes on the actual ksiva. It has to be on lishma. Rav Yudah Mar Shmuel gives a different explanation for our Mishnah. He says that when it says that a kol ksherin to write the get, everyone's katan, even a katan or a cher shot of a katan, they're not bnei dayanin, they don't want to write lishma. You don't have to say it's talking about with a gadol is omid al gaba, he's instructing him to do it lishma. It's talking about a case where he just wrote the tofes, he didn't write the main part. He left the makom Torah for a gadol to write. V'chein amar of chaga b'shmei de'ula v'hu sheshayir makom Torah. That's what the Mishnah is talking about. Reb and our Mishnah is Reb Lezer. Ksiva is really important. Reb Zreika amar Reb Yochanan ain't a Torah. Reb Zreika says that in Reb Yochanan ain't a Torah. It's not Torah. It's not true. My ain't a Torah. Amar Reb Abba kano dicha she'en koach lishma. Reb Meir the Amar Eili Chasima Karsi. He says that's not the explanation to say that our Mishnah follows Reb Lezer. Our Mishnah follows really Reb Meir, who says Eili Chasima Karsi. That's what they meant to say in a Torah. Don't say like Reb Lezer. Lachas not Reb Lezer. Lachas like Reb Meir. And the only answer to answer our Mishnah is, like we said before, that gadol is omid al gabo. So the Gemara has one technical difficulty. But Amar Rab Rachana Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan himself said, we learn in Chaf Aleph and Beis, Reb Lezer. He says the previous Mishnah reflects the opinion of Reb Lezer. Here he's saying that our Mishnah reflects the opinion of Reb Meir. So who does Rabbi Yochanan hold? Like Reb Meir or Reb Lezer? So the Gemara says, Amurayin ninu v'alibu de Rabbi Yochanan. Two Amurayim heard from Rabbi Yochanan different things. One heard that he passes like Reb Lezer. One holds who we pass like. One holds we pass like Reb Meir. The Mishnah says, "Hakol ksherin lahavias haget." Everyone is kosher to be a shliach for bringing the get. Chutz mecher shodav katan v'suma. Cher shodav katan. We'll explain all the reasons in the Gemara. And suma, even a blind person can't bring a get. A non-Jew also. Kibal a katan. Let's say a katan was appointed a shliach v'higdil, and by the time he gave it to the woman, he already became a gadol. He became 13 years old, and had pubic hair. Cheresh v'nitpakeach, or he was given to it while he was a deaf mute, and then before he was able to deliver it to the woman, he already was no longer a deaf mute. Suma v'nispateach, or he was blind when he took the get from the husband, and he was able to see miraculously. The cataract was removed by the time that he got to the woman. Shotev v'nishtafa, or he was someone who had psychiatric problems. He was a crazy man, and then he became level-headed by the time he gave it. This guy, or he was non-Jewish when he accepted the get, and then he converted before he gave it to the woman. Puzzle. In all these cases, it's still puzzle. However, if he accepted it when he was a smart person, when he was someone who wasn't a deaf mute, then he became a deaf mute, and then he became again no longer a deaf mute. Or suma v'nitpateach, Uh, uh, Suma v'nishpateya. Sorry. Patuach v'nistama v'chazer v'nispata. First he could see, then in the middle, after he received the get from the husband, he became blind, and then before he gave it to the woman, he could see again. Or shafoy v'nishtata v'chazer v'nishtapa. He was level-headed. Then he became crazy, and then before he gave it to the woman, he became level-headed again. Kosher. In all these cases, kosher. That kosher kosher. As long as the beginning and the end was with knowledge, proper knowledge, a lucid mind, then it's okay. The more it's a bishlam achereshadav katan, the lab they don't think the same way older people think. So they're not considered to be a valid shliach because the shliach, right? We're going to learn. I'm going to explain more in Iyod Ben Sion. The shliach by Gittin and Kiddushin is not a shliach. There's two types of shlichus. One type of shlichus is where you act as yada arichta dami. It's like you're an extension of that person. You're taking over. You're standing in the shoes of the person who sent you. You're acting on his behalf. The other type of shlichus is that you're just accomplishing something. The results are attributed back to the person who sent you, but you're your own person. You're not that person. You don't take over the persona of that person. So, by a shliach for bringing a get to a woman, you have to take on the persona of that person. These people are not ish, a katan or a cheresh or shota. They're not regular people. They're not men, so they can't be in place of you. A non-Jewish person, even though he's a gadol, he's not someone who's included in Torah and mitzvos. He's not mutter. He's not mutter to you. A Jewish man can't marry a non-Jewish woman. Midoraisa. You're not supposed to marry a non-Jewish person. Well, technically, marry a non-Jewish person is maybe only Asher Midrabanan, unless they're from the Zion Amnim of Canaan, but they're not Bnei Torah, they're not considered part of the Torah and mitzvos. They don't have the Kedushas Yisrael like a Yisrael. I'll explain this more. There's an Ovid Kucham and Evid we're going to talk about. Elasuma, why is there a problem with a blind person? My low. Amar Shesha he can't see who he took it from and who he gave it to. You can't trust him. Maskar of Yosef says, "Hey, achsuma mutter beishto." If that's true, we're worried about this by a blind person. How is a blind person ever allowed to sleep with his wife? It might be a different woman. Hey, bnei adam mutaram b'nei shosayani. How could anyone be mutter to their wives by Laila? Right? There's no candle, you can't see. Maybe it's a different wife. Ela b'tviyas aina the kala. You're familiar with her voice. How can I b'tviyas aina the kala? Therefore, a blind person is very familiar with voices. You can trust him based on that. Elamar of Yosef, the Mishnah, our Mishnah is talking about exclusively when he brought the get from Chutz La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael. The Vayla Meimer of Fani Nachtam. As we learned at the beginning of the Sechta, you have to say Fani Nachtam. V'lo Matzil Meimar. If he's blind, he can't say, I saw it written and signed in front of me. You can't see anything. Abai says to Elamata, Patuach v'nistama, the Matzi Amar Hachi. Let's say in a case where he could see, and then before he gave it to the woman, he became blind. So he could say, right, when he saw the get being written and signed. Nami the kosher. It should be kosher. Our Mishnah says only if he could see and then became blind, and then before he gave it to the wife, he could see again, and it's kosher. If he didn't become able to see before he gave it to the woman, it wouldn't be kosher. So the Gemara says no. Even if he didn't regain his vision, because the other two cases we're talking about a shota, at least one of them, the case we're talking about a shota, he has to return to a state of lucidity of his mind. Time when the chazon ishtafa, halo chazon ishtafa lo. That specifically needs him to be lucid of mind when he gives it to the woman. Tananami patuach min istama v'chazon min ispateach. It's symmetry to say it also, but really by a blind person, he doesn't have to go back and see. Amar Rav Ashi, daikanami. It's actually meduyuk. It's actually very noticeable in the Mishnah. Like Tani zak kol shel klasav asofa b'das kosher, v'lo kasani kol shel klasav asofa b'kashros kosher. It says in the Mishnah that the beginning and the end have to be with das. Right? A shota doesn't have das, but a blind person has das. So therefore, if it wanted to say that the blind person has to regain his vision, it would have said kol shel klasav asofa b'kashros. The fact it says das tells you that a blind person, even if he doesn't regain his vision, is a kosher. Shema Miyah. It's a good proof. They asked from Rabbi the following question: when a woman, she also has the ability to make a shliach, to makabel a get from her husband, or to makabel a get from the shliach of her husband. Can she make an eved, a shliach, to kabel a get from Isha? Now the obvious question is, why don't we talk about the man making an eved to give a get to his wife? So Rashi says the same question. It happened to be that was the question they were asking the Beis Medrash. It would be the same halacha. The Rimagash says no, it's not. It's obvious that if the man made it an eved a shliach, that would be okay. The only question is the Isha making the eved a shliach. I'll tell you why I have a third explanation, exactly the opposite of the Rimagash. In Ian Ben Sion, it makes a lot more sense to me. Amar Lahu and Kapasale Lo Kochavim. From the fact that the Mishnah says Ovid Kochavim is not good, right? A non-Jew is not good to be a shliach in Gittin. Michlal, the Eved kosher. So you see what? It left out, conspicuously left out an Eved. He is kosher to be a shliach for a Gittin. Amar Ravasi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Tabachol Kilon Beis, Amar Ravasi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Eina Eved Nasa Shlil Kabel Get Liisha Miad Baila. He says no, the halacha is he can't. Why? Lefisha Eina B'Torah's Gittin Mekidushin. Even though he's shayach to mitzvos, an Eved has to do mitzvos just like a woman has to do mitzvos. Nonetheless, he's not part of Gittin and Kiddushin because he's not an Eved marries a shifcha. He doesn't makadesh her, and he's not. You can only make a shliach like it has to be an extension of you. It has to be someone who's very similar to you. So, since an Eved shares most of the mitzvos, right? He's mitzuv the mitzvah seisha asman lo asman grama. Mitzvah seisha asman grama is potter like a woman, but in Hilchos Gittin and Kiddushin he's not like her, so therefore he can't act as a shliach on her behalf. Maskul or Belazar asked a question this time with the milsa the lace milsa isay kasha. The reason is because he's not included in this, but it's something that a person is included, he would be kosher. We see a proof not to this. Ovid kochavim kusi the isnu b'toras truma. A non-Jewish person, a kusi is a somewhat Jewish person, a half Jewish person. He's someone who partially converted. They can be chayav in truma. Then avshaya the snan ovid kochavim akusi shetarmu mishalahem trumas and truma. There is an opinion, it's machlokes in the Gemara. And ovid kochavim owns land in Eretz Yisrael. Is that mafkia, the land of the kedushas Eretz Yisrael, that whatever he grows is not chayav in trumas and ma'asos? Or do we say the land of Eretz Yisrael is immutable? It always has kedusha. Even if the non-Jew owns it, it still has its kedusha. So this opinion follows this Mishnah follows the opinion that ovid kochavim akusi. Their ownership of the land would not remove kedushas haaretz, and it would be chayav shumas and ma'asos. And if they take off shumas and ma'asos from their thing, it's not. It would be truma, meaning only a kohen could eat it. It's not. The Mishnah says further. However, if a Jewish person sends a non-Jew to be a shliach to take off truma from his own crop, it doesn't work. My time, atem gam atem, it says in the pasuk. Gam atem, right? The extra word gam, ma'atem Yisrael, just like you are Yisrael by take off truma, your shliach take off truma has to be Yisrael also. They're not the same as you. They can't be your shliach. So here also, right? They're not Yisrael, right? An Eved, it's not because he's not part of Torah's Gittin and Kiddushin. It's because he's not regular Kedushas Yisrael. He's not considered an Eved as like a woman, but he's not fully Kedusha. He can't marry a Bas. The right is saying he can't marry a Bas. He's always free to Bas Chor, and he can't marry. It's a different reason, not because not Isa B'Torah gives the Kedusha. Amri Debei Rabbi Yana lo. It's a different drasha. Ma'atem b'nei bris, afshlacham b'nei bris. It's nothing. When it's excluding a non-Jewish person from taking up truma for you, it's because he's not part of the covenant. It's not because he's not a Yisrael. He's not part of the covenant. Right, it wasn't a part of the bris at Har Sinai, but avodim could be part of the bris when you acquire an Eved Kanaini, you bring him in the mikvah and you make him partially mechuyev in the mitzvah. So he does it. He is part of Klal Yisrael. He is part of the Kahal. We'll talk about that. He is part of the Kahal. So therefore, so really technically he could be a shliach. He's part of Bnei Bris. The reason he doesn't work is because he's not part of Torah's Gittin and Kiddushin, like we said before. An Eved can't ask a shliach to take a get for a woman from her husband. And even though we have a Mishnah which says, a master says to his maidservant, you're going to remain as a maidservant for me. I'm going to have ownership over you. However, the child in your stomach, I'm setting him free. If she's pregnant with him at that point, zachsalo. He gives her the get shechor for the child, and when the child is born, he's free. Mayim haisa ubra zachsalo. What does that mean? What's the explanation? Tarti Amar. Two people said Niram Dvarim. Niram Dvarim she'eved makabel get lechavero miyad rabo shechavero. It makes sense that an eved can act as a shliach on his fellow eved's behalf to accept get shichror from his master. Avalo miyad rabo shlo. But if they're both owned by the same master, he can't act for his fellow slave to get a get shechror on behalf of him. We have another halacha taught him. It sounds like the same halacha over here, right? The master owns the woman and the fetus. So how does it work that the woman, could accept the get shechror for her fetus? It's like one eved accepting a get shechror for a second eved that master owns. That doesn't work. Two gedolei ador explain this. Rav Zera Shmuel Bar Yitzchak Charamar Hamani Rebbe. The first part of the explanation is that Mishnah with the child, with the fetus, that follows Rebbe. If you free, I say to my Eved, half of you is free. So is none of them free or half of them is free? Rebbe holds half of them is free. The Charamar, and someone explained further, my time with the Rebbe, what's the reason Rebbe? The machlok is in the Gemara whether a fetus is considered like a limb of the mother's body, or is it considered distinct from the mother's body? So Rebbe holds Uber is considered like a limb of the mother's body. When he says I'm freeing the fetus, it's like he's freeing her legs, right? And Rebbe says you could free half of her body. So he's freeing that part of her body, which is the fetus. And that's why the fetus is not like a case of two avadim, where one is makabel, the get shechor for his fellow eved. The Mishnah says, "Afa nashim she'ina nemanos lomar remains baila nemanos lahavi as gita." We learn the Masechas Yevamos. There are certain women that we don't trust, even though one aid, one witness, even a woman, even herself, is believed to say her husband died in order she can remarry. 5 women are not believed because they hate her and they want to get her into trouble. They'll say the husband died and they'll come back. And Shlamam Zerim. By bringing the get, they are believed. Who are these 5 ladies? Chamosa, her mother-in-law. Upas Chamosa, her sister-in-law. Visarasa, her co-wife. Viyavimta. Yavimta is basically if she's married to a man and he has a brother, and his brother is married to a woman and they don't have any kids, the brother might die, and she might become the co-wife. So she hates her because she might become the co-wife. Right, women who are co-wives who share a husband, they hate each other. Everyone wants the main attention from their husband. But nonetheless, the Torah accepts this polygamy. The Torah understands that polygamy is necessary, and even though there's consequences that women are jealous of each other, but the truth is that I think most women rather be co-wives with other wives to a real man than married to a man who's not a man. That's just the truth of the matter. Ask any real woman that. That's the truth. And that's really the answer to the shidduch crisis, right? There's fewer boys, and it's always in the world. It's not just in the shidduch, in the from world, in the whole world. There are very few good men, real men, quality men, and there's a lot of quality women out there. So that the natural answer is polygamy, right? That a man who's a qualified man who earned the title of being a quality man, he gets a lot of good women. And the men who did not try and did not persevere in their attempt to become a man get nothing. Capitalism, right? So the Gemara says, Bas Baila, Ubas Baila. The last one is Bas Baila, the daughter of the husband. She hates her, not exactly her mother-in-law, her father's wife. Ma ben get lemisa. What's the difference between get and misa? Why is we more makel over here? Because when they're bringing a get, you have actual proof of the get. You're bringing the get says that he divorced her. Aisha Atzma Gittin. Not only that, a woman herself could bring her get. But she's coming from overseas. She has to say she could bring her own get. She can bring it. She can say, "My husband gave it to me, and I'm bringing it to this court in Eretz Yisrael, and I want you to validate my get." And the court could validate and allow her to remarry. The Gemara says about Tanya. Kishem she'ena emanas lo moreis ba'ila kachen emanas lo havias kita. Avdin Brisa, which argues on our Mishnah explicitly, these 5 women are not believed regarding bringing her get. Amar of Yosef lo kasha. There's no difficulty. Kan ba'aretz, kan b'chutz la'aretz. One case is talking about Eretz Israel. One place is talking about you're bringing it from chutz la'aretz. Ba'aretz dilava dibura dida kasam china mehemna. If you bring it from one place Eretz Israel, another place in Eretz Israel, you don't have to say fani nechta. Right? So she's believed because she doesn't have to say anything, so she's not going to lie. But chutz la'aretz dibura dida kasam. The only way it's good is if she says fani nechta, and we think she's lying. Lo mehemna. Amalei Abaye said to Rav Yosef, who was his Rebbe, Adarava, Ibcham Mistar, makes sense the opposite. Be'eretz, if he's bringing it from one place to Eretz Israel to another place to Israel, the Asi Bal Ma'arer, Mashkachin and Bey, if the husband would come and protest, right, you don't have to say Fani Nachtam, and therefore if the husband would come and protest, Mashkachin and Bey, we listen to the husband, he can invalidate the get. So she knows this, right? So these women who hate this woman who's getting divorced, so she shouldn't be believed to bring the get because she knows there's a possibility that the husband could come afterwards and ruin the get, and then if she married someone else based on the get, the child can become zera. But chutz la'aretz and chutz la'aretz, yatzi bal ma'arer lo mashkachin. When you have to come bring from chutz la'aretz, you have to say fani nechta. So therefore, once you say that, the husband can no longer invalidate the get. Lo mashkachin mehemna. So therefore, she is believed over there because there could be no more corruption afterwards. That's the conclusion of today's share. Stay tuned for Iyun Ben Sion, where I talk about the difference between a shliach lahalacha, shliach the man sends to give the get to his wife, and a shliach kabbalah, shliach that the woman appoints to accept her get, based on a Gemara, the exact wording of the Gemara on Chav Gimel and Al towards the bottom. Iyun with Ben Sion coming up next.